Hey gang, in this video we're going to switch gears from multiplication, which is what we've been doing the last few days, and now we're going to division of decimals. And so we're going to start out by learning how to estimate quotients, and if you forgot what a quotient means, a quotient is just the answer to a division problem. So estimating quotients is going to be very similar to what we did with estimating products for multiplication. We're going to take each number in our division problems and we're going to round it to a number that is close enough to the original number but easy enough that we can divide mentally. Okay, so for number 1 here, we're going to estimate 32 divided by 3.9. Okay, 32 I can probably leave alone here. 3.9 though is really close to 4. So if I wanted to estimate this quotient, I could make 3.9 4. And the reason I'm choosing a 4 and leaving my 32 is because I know what 32 divided by 4 is. 4 goes into 32 8 whole times. And so I could say a reasonable estimate for my answer to this problem is 8. On number 2, I have 99 divided by 10.75. Okay, well, 10.75 is really close to 10. And even though 99 is a whole number, okay, 10 doesn't go into 99 evenly. However, 99 is really close to 100. And I know how to do 100 divided by 10 in my head. Okay, 100 divided by 10 is just 10. So that means 99 divided by 10.75, an estimate for that answer would be 10. Okay, last one, number 3, 984.76 divided by 38.1. Well, for this problem, 984.76 is pretty close to the number 1000. And a lot of times when you're dividing, if you can get your numbers to end in 5s and 0s, that's going to make your life a lot easier, especially if you're trying to do the division quickly or in your head. 38.1, well, the next whole number that ends in a 0 that 38.1 is close to is 40. So we could estimate this product by instead taking the number 1000 divided by 40. 1000 divided by 40, I might need to write that out with pencil and paper. So we know that 40 won't go into 10, but it will go into 100. 40 will go into 100 2 whole times. 2 times 40 is 80. And then when I do my subtraction here, I get 20. And then I can bring down my 0. 40 goes into the number 200 5 whole times. And so that means 1000 divided by 40 is actually 25. So a good estimate for 984.76 divided by 38.1 would be the number 25. Okay, so now we're going to move away from estimating to getting some exact answers when dividing decimals by whole numbers. But just like we did when we were multiplying, we're going to use these estimating skills to try to make sure that our answers make sense. Okay, so when you're dividing decimals by whole numbers, it's basically the same as what you normally do with long division. In your answer though, and again the answer to a division problem is the quotient, you want to make sure that you place the decimal point in your answer directly above the decimal point in the dividend. Okay, so let me show you what that means. In number 4 here, we have 7.5 divided by 3. And just as a review, when you're setting up a long division house, the first number in a division problem, the 7.5, that's what we call the dividend. Okay, that's going to go inside your house. So for 7.5, I would put that inside my house, and then the 3, that is the divisor that goes on the outside of your division house. So it gets set up just like this. Okay, so we're going to treat this problem just like we would 75 divided by 3. 3 goes into 7 2 whole times, so directly above the 7 I'm going to place a 2. 2 times 3 is 6, and then when I subtract, 7 minus 6 is 1. Now I bring down my 5 and I divide again. 3 goes into 15 5 whole times. 5 times 3 is 15. I subtract and I get a remainder of 0. Okay, so 75 divided by 3, had that been the problem, my answer would have been 25. 7.5 divided by 3, to get my answer, all I need to do is take this decimal point and bring it straight up and place it there between my 2 and my 5. And it's very important when you're doing division with decimals to keep everything lined up, okay, in nice columns, and then you should be able to put your decimal point in the right spot. So 2.5 is my answer. Let's see if that makes sense. So if we estimated 7.5 is close to 9, and if we divide 9 by 3, we get 3. 3 is pretty close to our answer of 2.5, so our answer does make sense for this problem. Okay, now let's take a look at example 5. For this one, we have 6.74 divided by 3. So we're going to set up our long division house with, again, 6.74, the first number going inside the house. Again, that's called your divisor. And then 3 is going on the outside of the house. That's called the dividend. Okay, so 3 goes into 6 2 whole times. So I can put a 2 here above my 6. Again, keep everything lined up in columns. 2 times 3 is 6. And when I subtract, I get 0. Oops. It's supposed to be a 0. There we go. And now I need to bring down a 7. Okay, and so now 3 goes into 7 2 whole times. So I can put another 2 here above my 7. 2 times 3 again is 6. And 7 minus 6 is 1. Now I'll bring down my 4. 3 goes into 14 4 whole times. So I can put a 4 here above this 4. 4 times 3 is 12. And I subtract 14 minus 12 is 2. Now normally in whole number problems, once you get to this point and you've run out of numbers here, you would stop. You would say if this problem weren't a decimal, if this were 674 divided by 3, you would say that the answer is 224 remainder 2, or 224 and 2/3. However, when you're doing decimals, you have to keep going, okay? And you have to keep on going until you either get a terminating decimal or a repeating decimal. Okay, so what we're going to do is, to continue the division process, is we're going to add a 0 to the right of 6.74. 6.74 is the same as 6.740. And now I'm going to bring down this 0 and continue dividing. 3 will go into 26 whole times. 6 times 3 is 18. And then 20 minus 18 is 2. Again, I can add another 0 at the end, bring it down, and continue this process. 3 goes into 26 whole times. 6 times 3 is 18. Subtract and I get a 2. Okay, now we could keep going as long as we wanted to for this problem, but hopefully you're starting to see a pattern. Every single time we add a 0 at the end and bring it down, we get a 20, like right here and right here. And every time we take 3 into 20, we get a 6. 6 times 3 is 18, and then we get a difference of 2. So this is what we call a repeating decimal. It doesn't matter how many zeros we add to the end here, we're always going to get a 6 up here in our quotient. Okay, so we call this answer, let me add my decimal point. My decimal point would go directly above this decimal point, so here between my 2's. We call this decimal 2.246 repeating. And this little bar here that I've drawn above the 6 signifies that the 6th digit is repeating. Okay, so this decimal is going to go on forever and ever. It will not end. And so once you start seeing that pattern, okay, you can go ahead and stop dividing. So the answer to this problem is 2.246 repeating. Let's go ahead and check our answer to see if it makes sense. 6.74 is really close to 6, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. So if I were estimating my answer, I would say my answer would be close to 2, and 2.246 is pretty close to 2. Okay, number 6, we have 9.48 divided by 15. Okay, so 9.48 is our dividend. Our divisor is 15. Now, when you're dividing by a 2-digit number, you want to be careful. Ignore the decimal point for a moment. If this were 948 divided by 15, we can't take 15 into just 9. We have to take 15 into 94. So 15 will go into the number 94 6 whole times. And that 6 I'm going to place here above the 4. Okay, you don't want to place it above the 9. You're taking 15 into two digits, the 9 and the 4, 94. So that's why we put the 6 directly above the 4. So be very careful where you're lining up your digits when you're doing division like this. 6 times 15, if you need to write that out to the side, please do that. 6 times 15 would be 90. And so we place a 90 down here below our 94. Subtract 94 minus 90 is 4. And now I can bring down my 8 and repeat this process. 15 goes into 48 3 whole times. 15 times 3 is 45. Okay, so 3 times 15 is 45. Subtract, I get a 3. Okay, and now, just like the last problem, I want to add a 0 to the right of my 8 so I can continue dividing. And I bring down that 0, and now I have a 30 down here. 15 will go into 32 whole times. 2 times 15 is 30. And once we subtract here, we're actually done. Okay, so this is not a repeating decimal. It ends in a 2. And be very careful with where you place the decimal point. Decimal point is going to go directly, again, above the decimal point in the dividend. And it actually goes here just to the left of our 6. So our answer is going to be a number less than 1, 0.632. You could also say that the answer is 0.632. Okay, our last problem is a small word problem. It says Andy and her 2 friends ordered pizza for lunch. If the pizza cost $9.75, how much will they each pay if they split the cost of the pizza equally? So what this problem is asking us to do is it's asking us to take a total cost of $9.75 and split that or divide it among the number of people paying. Well, Andy is one person, and she's out to lunch with her 2 friends, so that's 2 more people. So that means there's a total of 3 people paying for this pizza. So this is a division problem of $9.75 divided by 3. So this would be 9.75 divided by 3. 3 goes into 9 3 whole times. 3 times 3 is 9. If I subtract, I get 0. I can bring down my 7. 3 goes into 7 twice. 2 times 3 is 6. I subtract and I get a 1, and then I can bring down my 5. 3 goes into 15 5 whole times. 5 times 3 is 15. I subtract and I get 0. So my decimal point would go directly above my decimal point in 9.75. That gives me 3.25. Remember that this is a word problem, so we want to answer our question in a full sentence with labels. So a good sentence for this one might be, they will each pay $3.25. Make sure you put a dollar sign since we're talking about money for this problem. Okay, so that was your introduction to dividing decimals by whole numbers. The next thing you'll start working on is your assignment over this section. As always, have a nice day. You're all wonderful people, and I will see you for the next video.